I'm Lisa Mullins. This is WBUR. We're taking time today to remember an icon of liberal politics. Longtime Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank died last night at the age of 86. Frank was the first member of Congress to voluntarily come out as gay. He was a fierce advocate for LGBTQ and women's rights, and he helped create the landmark Dodd-Frank Act after the 2008 financial crisis. The law dramatically increased oversight of Wall Street and U.S. banks. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick joins us now. Governor, thank you for being here, and I'm sorry for your loss.
I'm sorry for our loss and for the Commonwealth's loss. He was iconic and really funny, too.
And really funny and quite acerbic as anybody has been, as many members of the media have been on the end of his barbs. I don't know if you ever got any of that yourself, but when you think about his legacy, what comes to mind?
I remember he described government not as some abstraction, but as the name we give to the things we choose to do together. And when you get right down to it, that is what government's supposed to be. And I think he had a way through that extraordinary range of and command of language and understanding of people to break complicated things down and to be unapologetic as he did in explaining himself. I loved him for that. It was fun.
And how well was he able to work across the aisle?
Well, of course, you I think in your intro you mentioned Dodd-Frank. I remember he said he described Karl Rove, who was the political strategist for President George W. Bush, as one of his great nemeses when they were both serving in Washington and after the Bush administration. And when Barney had left Congress, I remember him quipping. He said, "You couldn't pay me to sit down and have a conversation with Karl Rove." He said, "Turns out you can," because at that point he and Karl were on various panels together and talking about policy agreements and policy differences. I think, in fact, behind closed doors, he did that too when he was in office.
You had the great honor of presiding over his marriage. He was the first sitting congressman to be in a same-sex marriage. He married his longtime partner, James Reddy. I wonder if you can remember when you officiated what you said as you introduced the vows.
I remember being incredibly touched that he would ask me.
Yeah.
I think for both of us, it was meaningful to be part of a ceremony, the legality of which, in Massachusetts, I had a lot to do with.
Yes,
and
you were governor
and
at the time.
proudly,
Right.
Rarely had I seen Barney so humble and even a little awkward about being the center of attention. He was moved by what was happening.
For those who don't know Barney Frank or weren't alive when he was in office, this is from 1981 to 2013 when he was in Congress. Is there something about our lives right now that you think is different because of him that younger people should know about?
He was a champion for the meek, for the outcast, for regular working people, long before we were talking about affordability as a political and social reality. I encourage everybody I know to take nothing for granted about economic mobility and the chance to put one foot in front of the other for yourself and your family. That's gotten harder. But we had a time that Barney Frank worked in and for to make government do its part to help us help ourselves. And I think, remembering his contribution is important now because that's exactly what I think a lot of us are yearning for in public policy.
Thank you. Former Governor Deval Patrick, nice to speak with you.
Good to speak with you, Lisa. Thank you.
Barney Frank died at his home in Ogunquit, Maine last night. He was 86 years old.